Very good. That's much more fun, getting closer to the power. Okay, more people coming in. Some people going out. One of the monks from Usunyo's mum and dad are at the back there. Hi, visiting from Netherlands. And they can't understand much English, so that's why they've gone back, getting tired. It's very nice to have monks from all over the world and people visiting them. So I realise it's very impressive as well, because sometimes over in Europe they think, oh, you monks, you're just doing nothing and just hanging around, sitting like some down and out, drop out. But to see how much work we do, it's quite impressive. Anyhow, thanks for coming this evening, and I'm thinking of something to talk about, and the topic for today is going to be about entanglement. Just why it is we get so caught up with things. And once we know how we get so caught up with things, once we know that, how to let it go and live a much more peaceful, free existence. And in this talk, I hope, making up as I go along, we start with entanglement with stuff, with things, with material. And then entanglement with views and ideas, which cause so many arguments, and there's so much emotional separation between peoples. And lastly, the entanglement we have just with past and future, why we can't just let it go. Though it's pretty much a similar thing. Those who have many possessions in this world, physical possessions, also have many thoughts and views and ideas. Because the same thing is happening. What sticks us onto stuff also sticks us onto views and ideas and causes us a lot of trouble. But the first story, why is it we get entangled with material things? And that story is of my poor old mother's, because I just seeing Vedu Sunyo's mother out there reminded me of my old mum, who passed away about 5 years ago. But every time I went to visit her, because she lived in London and it was too far for her to come over here, she never liked travelling. So I would go and visit my mother in London every few years. You can't go every year because it's too far and too expensive. And I got to, get some sponsors for my airfare. So it was very difficult. So, because I don't have any money. So, when I did go first time to visit my mother, from Australia, one of the disciples said, you've got to give a gift to your mother. So they went to the tourist shop and they got one of these little soft toy kangaroos. And just kitsch, but my mother loved it. When I gave her this soft toy kangaroo and I said, you can put that on your shelf, and when I'm gone, you look at that and you remind you of your son in Australia living with the kangaroos. Because we do live with the kangaroos, with lots and lots and lots of kangaroos if you come to Bodhinyana Monastery. I remember it happened many times. I just happened to be in the car park and this car came up, one of these big people movers, 7 or 8 people. I said, oh, can I help you? He said, no, we don't want to see the monks, we're looking for the kangaroos. They weren't interested in me, they wanted to see, because Bodhinyana Monastery is one of the best places to bring your parents to see kangaroos. So I was a bit disappointed. Anyway, so it's more like Bodhinyana Zoo than Bodhinyana Monastery, but anyway. And but over in Bodhinyana Monastery, those kangaroos, the reason why people go there is because they're so tame. They're wild kangaroos, but they come right up to you. And I ask people, we are one of the only places in the world where you can find Buddhist kangaroos. Well, they've been there such a long time. So, they've sort of got used to us and they respect us. And people say, how do you know they're a Buddhist kangaroo and not a Christian kangaroo? It's very easy to understand, because a Christian kangaroo, they put their paws up like this. And a Buddhist kangaroo does this. That's an old joke, but it's a good one. People still laugh, so what the heck. So those are Buddhist kangaroos. So I got my mum a little Buddhist kangaroo, just a soft toy kangaroo, and she loved it. So about 3 or 4 years later, I went to visit her again. What can I get this time? A koala bear. Again, because So she got a koala bear, and she still had my kangaroo from the time before, so she put the koala bear right next to her. Oh, thank you so much, I love this so much. It reminds me of my son back in Australia. And then next time, what can I get her? You could even get like a little toy kookaburra. So that was the next one on the shelf. And after that, it was a platypus. And after that, a wombat. When I got the wombat, there was a problem. Because you already had the kangaroo, and the koala, and the kookaburra, and what else, a platypus, and now the wombat, and she couldn't fit them on the shelf. The shelf was too small. So she tried to put the wombat on, and the other animals fell off. And then he put the other animals on, and then the wombat fell off. I said, Mum, look, you've had that kangaroo for years. Why don't you throw it away so you can make more room for the others? No. Oh, I love that kangaroo. Well, throw away the platypus. No, I love that one. Well, throw away the kookaburra. No. Let it fly away, it's a bird. No. And I realized that's what attachment and entanglement is. We have all this old stuff, and we can't throw any of it away. How many of you have got a house so full of junk that, and you try and throw it, oh no, I remember just buying this, it's got memories to it. So what do? You go in one of these storage places. You can rent a shed, and you put it on this koala storage. It must be full of koalas and kangaroos, I don't know, but you put it all in these storage sheds. How much do you need to have? Why can't we throw it away? Just because of my mum? No. So she had so much stuff there, it took about an hour or 2 hours to balance it precariously. I'm sure that as soon as I left, it all fell off again. And I realized that's like a mental breakdown. We have so much stuff in our head that our poor brain can't take anymore, and it all falls off and collapses in a heap because we keep too much stuff. Even in our houses. Again, how much stuff have you got in your room? Go and see my room where I sleep. Right, this was years and years and years ago. Because we're a monastery, it's weird. So you get these country women's associations and other little groups. They call it Red Hat Group, and all these little clubs, for people who haven't got any work. Just to do something weird. Where can we go today? Let's go to Buddhist monastery. Let's see Buddhist kangaroos and these funny monks. So they come along, and I remember one group, I showed them around. Now, where do the monks live? So showed them a real monk's hut, where we live, like where this monk lives. It's a room which is about I know this because I built them, 3 meters wide, 3 meters long, 2.4 meters wide. In the old thing, that's 8 foot by 10 foot. That's it. With a mat on the bottom to sleep on the floor, and hardly any possessions, that's it. And I remember taking these women, this women's group, to see it, and they looked at this and said, wow, if only I could live in a place like this, I'd get my housework done in half an hour. And they were so jealous. How long does it take you to clean stuff? And I really caught that. I thought, wow, isn't it amazing? Just have few stuff, and then you don't have anything to worry about. And thieves, if they came in my cave, there's nothing to steal. It's wonderful. So you don't have to have any security. Isn't that wonderful? You don't have to have any locks on your door, no security screens, no cameras, no things which are sort of linked to some security system outside. I don't know if you know that old story, because I just came back from Canberra, about the guy over there who found this amazing way to not pay any insurance. Because insurance costs a lot of money. There's so many thieves and stuff trying to get into your house. And it's not only just the insurance you have to have, you know, these security screens and cameras and alarms and double locks. Oh, security these days in ordinary people's houses costs so much money, it's so difficult. He found this such a simple solution. So he cancelled all his insurance, gave away all his security screens, and he was totally safe. All he did was buy a flagpole, put it in his front lawn. You know, that cost a few dollars from Bunnings. Pole in there, and on the top of the flagpole he put an ISIL flag, Islamic State. Now he's got free surveillance by the CIA, by ACO, the federal police are always looking over his place. It doesn't cost him a penny. That's smart. But anyway, just when you go, don't do that. That's only a joke, okay? So don't take it as my advice. But anyhow, there we go. Just, you know, a smart guy can get away with not paying any insurance and stuff. But anyway, when you live simply, so why have you got so much stuff? Why did my mother keep all those animals? I told her, look, you got the new animal, just the wombat. Put that in the center there. Throw all the rest away. Give it to a charity or something. Give it a church or something. Go and auction it or something. Because when you just got one animal there, number one, it doesn't compete for your attention. It's just right there in the center. Easy to clean, it never falls off. And then next time I come, I'll get you another animal. We can exchange it. Why is it we can't let anything go? It's totally irrational, emotional, fearful. Because we always think, oh, just in case. And that case never, ever, ever, ever happens. So, it's nice to live simply. Yes, it's not good for the economy, so they say, but it's great for the environment. And you don't need such a big house. And you can actually walk through the rooms rather than having to negotiate left past the sofa, right past the armchair. So, why are we so entangled with stuff? That's one of the things as a monk we could teach people. And I really do live by how I teach. Monday, I have to go to Hong Kong. Not have to go, I like going to Hong Kong to go and do some teaching, teach a retreat over there. My baggage, I will show you my baggage. I've got it here today. This is my baggage. If you see me on the flight early on Monday morning, you'll see this is all which I carry. It's so much easier that way. Instead of, if you want to check it, here you go, check it, easy. Instead of opening your bags, is there any sort of sharp items in there, sir? Is there any sort of, whatever, what else do they ask for? Flammable material, any explosives? No, I'm a monk, we're pacifists. So easy, and just so easy to carry things through, and you never have to wait at the carousels, waiting for your baggage to come out. And also, this happened to me many times. You go through the customs in foreign airports, and this is all I'm carrying. You know, I come from Australia, I'm in London or in New York or somewhere. You say, sir, where is your baggage? I say, this is it, this is all I have, I'm a monk. And then something clicks in them, and they say, oh, you're a monk. This is all you've got. I understand. Well done. And they praise me, because that's what a monk is supposed to do. They say, please go through, sir. So, you know, you're a real monk, and actually you're actually encouraging people to live simply. Why do you need all these suitcases for? How many dresses can you wear at one time? This is the only dress I've got. It's nice and simple. As I tell people, this doubles as my bed sheet. So at night time, this is my bed sheet, and it also doubles, as I mentioned here before, on an aircraft. If ever it gets shot down, this doubles as my parachute. It's quite wide. I just hold it as you go down. It's got so many uses. You know, if I go to Spain, you know, and a ball starts to escape, you know, I can just keep the ball away that way, ole. So multi-purpose, nice and easy. So try and keep things simple, okay? Because why do we get entangled with stuff? Number one is because everyone else does. We do act like sheep. We don't think like us for ourselves. We don't question. You know, you say, why do I need that? Do you really need it, or you just want it? I don't know if he's here today, but this was such a crazy thing. This guy came in on a Friday into that room over there, and he said, do you need a TV set? I said, no, I don't need a TV set. Why would I need a TV set? No, it's a nice, good one. It's a new one, not a second-hand one. I said, no, we don't need a TV set. No, it's one of the really big, you know, those is it plasma screen, LCD? What do you call them anyway? You know what I'm talking about, you know, flat screen, whatever it is. So we don't need it. So why do you want to give it to us? And he said, oh, well, because I saw it in the shop, it was on sale, so I brought it, but I don't need it. What? I don't get that. Can't understand it. Well, why do you buy it? Not because I needed it, because it was a bargain. That's why I bought it. There's something very weird about that, which I just do not get. You buy it because it's on sale, not that you need it. So, come on, live simply. Don't get so entangled with what other people do. When you don't get so entangled with what other people do, you can live a far more free life. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses and do what other people do. Instead, you know, just make your own decisions. It's amazing just how our society sort of controls us. I was always wanted to be a rebel. Even when I was young, I was rebellious and I wanted to be individual. And so there was a time when you had all these it's funny what you call them now, they call them love-ins. Or, you know, the big rock concerts. So I decided, you know, to go and get my green velvet trousers. Now that was really being radical. You know, this was in England, you know, 60s. You're supposed to wear, you know, black trousers and white shirts and a tie. But I got my green velvet trousers, and I thought I was so unique and so rebellious until I went to one of these big rock concerts, and every other guy was wearing green velvet trousers as well. So much for me being individual. How many times is fashion? You just do what other people do. You get entangled in just the culture telling you what to do rather than thinking it out for yourself, what is necessary. And I also remember just as a monk going to Melbourne. I'll be in Melbourne in May, I think, helping out over there. And usually go around May time, and it's still really cold. May time it hasn't really. You know, the summer's gone. It's getting into the winter time, and some of the days, the May days over in Melbourne, are really, really freezing. And I remember just looking out the window of the car, seeing all these girls, you know, 20, 23, 25, and they had a fashion. Just, you know, I think it's low skirts or trousers, and very high, I think, halter tops. What are they called, halter tops? But anyway, they had this big exposed layer of skin around their belly button. And this was the winter time. They were going blue. They had to do that because of fashion. That's absolutely crazy, just to follow what other people do and freeze yourself to death. So please, just don't do that. Don't follow fashion, make fashion. Be comfortable. Be individual. Don't just get entangled in what other people do and think that is cool. So, this is one of the reasons why we try and get people to let go of these things and do what is convenient, which is comfortable, and not just follow the other people. And it's the same reason why we want to get lots of stuff. You know, I think it's a lot of times because we're afraid of emptiness. We're afraid of not having things. And I just noticed that because, you know, when we first built this place, that shrine over there had hardly anything on. And what happens? People go and put stuff on it. You know, I remember as a young man I like being in the mountains, going up, climbing up mountains. And on the top, it was just so beautiful on the top there. You could sit down and there's no one there, just feel the wind against your skin and you look forever. And now, on top of those mountains, so first of all, they put a flag on top. They can't leave it alone. And after a flag, then they put a restaurant. So many of those mountains where I used to go up on the top when I was a kid, now got a restaurant on top. Can't you leave it alone? Why in some of these beautiful beaches which were pristine, why do you have to build, first of all, a caravan park, then a resort? Why can't we leave it alone? Sometimes I wonder why. And I think you can find the answer in your house. You have a wall. Beautiful, free and empty. And you think, oh, a picture would go well there. You've got a nice empty corner. Oh, we put a pot plant there. Why can't you celebrate emptiness, nothingness? Why can't you have a room in your house? You've got so many rooms in your house. One room in your house with nothing in it as a statement, a fashion statement. And they say, what's that room for? What do you mean? It's my empty room. Well, put something in it. No, it's for emptiness, for freedom. No, we can store stuff in it. No, it's empty. That would be pretty radical to have one room which has nothing in it, just for the sake of emptiness. But it's so hard to do because we don't like freedom. We like complications. So it's the same with our life. Sometimes I wonder what people are doing in life. They got a nice husband, a nice wife, they got a kid already. They want another kid. Isn't life complicated enough, having one? Have a dog or a cat. Dogs and cats are far more easier to look after. You don't have to pay school fees. The dogs don't get into trouble taking drugs. The cats don't, well, they do get pregnant, but it's not such a big deal. And they never argue back at you. They never talk back at you. Nobody comes to me and so they complain about their kids a lot, but they never complain about their cat being lazy or their dog not getting up and cleaning up its room. You don't expect your dog to clean up its room. And dogs and cats don't play computer games. So, you know, you have a much easier life. Having a cat or a dog or a rabbit even, that's very nice. Very easy. So, why do we get entangled? Why do we want lots of stuff in entanglement? And it's the same sometimes with our ideas and views. For goodness sake, why can't we just let go and don't get entangled in our ideas and views and religions? Why can't we just live very peacefully instead of, my religion is more better than your religion? No, it's not. Mine is much better. And we argue and argue and argue. Why can't we disentangle from our ideas and views? Because that's what we were teaching in the meditation. Let go. Be free. Be empty. Instead of finding a nice mountaintop and putting a flag on top or a restaurant. Why do we have to put a religion on top of beautiful peace and emptiness? What's this old story? I keep on getting these old stories because they're the best. About when I was 1972 over in United States and 69, sorry, and bored in the United States. So I went down to Central America. That was really cool. That was real jungles in 1969. Went into Guatemala, the Yucatan Peninsula, going on these rivers through the jungle. This was real rainforest. You know, like any moment I expected Tarzan to come swinging out through the jungles. Honestly, it was like I had a dugout canoe with, this family, starkers, no clothes on them at all. They were natives, indigenous people. I'm just nostalgic now, going to this, one of the best cafes I've ever been to in the world. It just, bamboo and thatch, and the only thing on offer was the tortilla, the corn bread, beans, black beans with lots of salt, and coffee, really strong coffee, with as much sugar in as it was strong. Just what the locals ate. So simple, but that was absolutely delicious. Dirty with dogs, mangy dogs running all over the place. I remember that, just indigenous little cafe, long time ago. And then having to travel up the rivers and up the roads, through the mountains, through the jungles, because I was aiming to get to this ancient Mayan ruin in the middle of the jungle called Tikal. These great pyramids, and I wanted to go there because they looked cool, and I didn't know anything about them, but it was a nice adventure. And in those days, these days you probably have to pay money to get in the entrance and get all the guidebooks, and you've got your tea shops and everything else. But when I got there was only one other person around, some archaeologist, so I had the whole place to myself. It was brilliant, this ancient ruin, and no one to tell me what to do. So, what did I do? I was 18 at the time, not as replete as I am these days. Very fit, so yeah, let's go and climb up, see what's at the top of one of these pyramids. At the bottom, they don't look so high. When you're halfway up, there's a long way to go. But anyway, I got to the top, and at the top, there was this little hut at the top, like a stone little enclosure. I didn't know what it was supposed to be there for until I got to the top. And it was so obvious. When you're told what it means, you may miss the truth. That's why I always say, never allow your learning, what you've told, what you believe, never allow that to stand in the way of what truth is. Truth is what's right in front of you. What you're told it is blocks it. So, because I didn't know anything, had nothing to block me from what was really obvious. At the top of that pyramid, it was above the tree line. It was above the jungle. So number one, you could see, like the old, like the modern Google Maps, you can see where you'd come from. All the roads and the winding rivers through the jungle, you were above it. The old bird's eye view, which human beings not being able to fly couldn't get. And that's amazing. I could actually see the plan of my world from above, beyond, disentangled from it. But above, you can understand how it all fits together. Number two, what I liked the most was for days in a jungle, everything gets overgrown. The rainforest is so virulent, so alive, that if they put a path in the jungle, it grows over very quickly. You're going through tunnels. So for about 3 or 4 days, I hadn't seen the horizon, hadn't even seen the sky, except just little patches through the tree cover. And for the first time in 3 or 4 days, I could see infinity in all directions, with nothing between me and forever. Looking around, forever, just space, emptiness, infinity, and nothing to tell me what it meant, because you didn't need any explanation. That was an amazing experience. And I realized that's the trouble with sometimes religions, ideas. They block as seeing the great emptiness and peace. We always like to put a flag on top of mountains. We want to put a picture on top of our walls. We want to put a flower pot in the corner of our room. We've got a beautiful garden. We want to put a bush there somewhere. Can't we leave it alone? When we leave it alone, then we're seeing this beautiful nature emptiness. We don't put stuff in there. So, all of our thoughts and ideas, that's like putting restaurants in the middle of emptiness. That's like blocking out space. It makes life so complicated. Instead, we let go and simplify as much as we possibly can. That's what we were doing in the meditation. That's what it's teaching you. To let go of all this thoughts and complications and just see and feel. Sometimes that people, because they think too much, they get it all wrong. And it's because we think too much, we argue, we think we're right. And this is one of the other things I wanted to mention. Why is it we can't let go of ideas and views? One of the reasons is because somehow or other we equate our wisdom, our knowledge, our experience with being somebody. And that if ever you are wrong, you feel that you are demeaned and diminished. You're a lesser person if you are wrong. The obvious example of that is good old Donald Trump. And I keep reading about him. He's obviously wrong sometimes, but he won't admit it. And that's a great reflection of many people I know, and sometimes myself. Why is it we find it so difficult to say, oh, we made a mistake, we got it wrong? We looked at the news channel and it was just deceived us. We misunderstood it. Why is it that people feel afraid to say, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong? Imagine that happened. The next tweet of Donald Trump was, sorry guys, I was wrong. Obama never wiretapped no Trump Tower. Now that'd be front page news. That'd be amazing. People would actually start to like the guy because he's human and he's honest and authentic. Why can't we admit our mistakes and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong? And I always look back, that's from a time when I was a kid at school. The teacher would ask me a question and I'd get it wrong and said that was wrong. And I felt so miserable about that. I felt I made a terrible personal mistake. There was some defect in my personality. So what you used to do afterwards, you'd hide the fact. You weren't wrong. And that's what my school teacher used to do. A maths teacher, he taught me this. When he made a mistake on the blackboard and we pointed out, that's wrong, you made a mistake, they said, exactly. I put that on there on purpose to make sure you were all paying attention. The deliberate mistake to keep you all awake. But why is it we can't say, oh yeah, you're right, well done, I made a mistake? The reason why we can't admit we made a mistake because we think it's a personal failure, a defect in us. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake, and in fact, people who admit mistakes, they are actually, in my opinion, they're authentic, honest, and they get my respect much more than anybody else. Politicians, are they allowed to make mistakes? Or if they make a mistake, you say, right, you are fired, get out. And that's a terrible thing we do to politicians. That's why we get the politicians which we create. That no one is willing to admit they made a mistake, because if they did, we think far lesser of them. If we can change our attitude when someone is honest, they admit they made a mistake, think better of them for being honest and authentic, being real. And same with you. You get it wrong. Don't keep hanging on just because, I said it, therefore it must be right. So don't get entangled and attached to ideas, even though you know they're past their use-by date. New ideas have come up. Why not let go of the old and get a much better idea? It's amazing just how we get entangled with our thoughts. And it's amazing just how entangled people can get. Look, this is one example. Here's many, many, many years ago, I was giving a keynote address at a Grief and Loss conference, and that was over in Scarborough Beach Hotel when it was first built. It was a beautiful conference center. And as a Buddhist monk, meditating for a long time, understanding psychology, grief about, losing someone very, very close to you. I know about that. I lost my father when I was 16. Many, many people in my family have died by my age. Of course, many people died, but I understand what grief is and how to let it go. It's not that difficult. And it's, again, not getting entangled in stuff, being able to let the past go and just looking at it in a different way. You don't mourn the loss. You remember what you gained by knowing such a person for such a long time. My father, 16 years, a great time we had together. Yeah, I would have preferred 20 years or 40 years or 50 years, but I had 60 years with him. Thank you so much for those 16 years. So I looked at what I had. I never felt sad at what I lost. I remember what I had. And that changed the whole idea. So those are one little quick idea of how to deal with things like loss and grief. But I gave that example in much more detail at this Grief and Loss conference. And then this woman came up to me in Perth. You probably know her. She was one, I won't say exactly which one, she was the mother of one of the victims of the Claremont killings. She lost her daughter, in one of those Claremont murders. And she came up to me, and I'd given some really nice advice. And I think they called it shirt fronting. She came right up to me and said, "What right have you?" It's great to actually raise your voice when you give talks, because anyone who's falling asleep actually does wake up now. "What right have you to take away my grief?" That's what she said. And that really hit me. Because I always thought that people would love to get away from the suffering of grief, but not this woman, because she was Mrs. Grief. She was well known and giving a lot of sympathy and access to all these conferences and interviews. It gave her an identity which was so ingrained in her, she realized that what I said was powerful and was capable of freeing her from the prison of her sadness, but she did not want to go. That's called entanglement. Why is it we can't be free? Because we don't want to be free. It's who we are, the prisoner in jail. We make all our jails. When was the last time this story comes up? I just don't plan these, but they come up as I go. When was the last time I told the old worm and the pot of dung story? 9 months. 9 months, that's long enough. Here it goes again. This is entanglement in a nutshell. One of the great stories, the last story in my first book, Open the Door of Your Heart. And this gave the title to the Indonesian series of my books. Because in Bahasa Indonesia, a worm is called cacing. And actually, they call me, my nickname in Indonesia is Guru Cacing, the teacher of the worms. That's what I'm known as over there. And anyway, it came from this story. That once upon a time, there were these two monks. And they were the best friends, they hang out together. And then when they died, one of the friends got reborn in this beautiful heavenly realm because he was a very good monk. And the other monk, don't say what he did, but his rebirth was as a worm in a pile of cow dung. Cow poo. Cow shit, but I'm not supposed to say that word. So, as a worm in a pile of dung. And being in the heavenly realm was so beautiful and refined and lovely up in heaven. And he thought, where's my friend, my best mate? And he's disappeared. And so he used all of his powers of being an angelic being and looked everywhere in heaven, couldn't find him anywhere. So just went online and Googled in Earth. I'm just making it up. Couldn't find him anywhere on Earth. Googled in higher beings like elephants and gorillas. He wasn't there. Googled and they found him. He found his friend. Oh my goodness me, he's been reborn as a worm in a pile of hot, stinking cow dung. Oh, crikey, I can't... No, friendship is important. Would you let your friend down if they were in trouble? You never do that. Friends are important. So he went to see his friend, and this heavenly being, imagine like a heavenly being appearing right in front of smelly dung. That took a lot of endurance. I say, like, imagine somebody like, who can you say, like Queen Elizabeth, going in front of a pile of dung, all by herself, without any attendants. Really high beings, and that takes a lot of endurance. But this is what you do to friends. So the heavenly being called out, "Hey, worm, worm, worm!" Because heavenly beings, they know worm language, and worms can understand heavenly beings. If I called out to a worm, it wouldn't come anywhere. But anyway, this was an angelic being with powers and stuff. So after a little while, this little head poked out, the worm. And I say, "Yeah, what do you want? You selling something?" So, "No, I'm not selling anything." So, "No, are you a religious nut, knocking door to door, or part of door to part of door?" No, I was your friend in a previous life. Look, you don't remember me, because now you're a worm, I'm an angelic being, but we were friends. Now listen for a few minutes. I've been reborn in heaven, and heaven is so refined and beautiful and happy and delightful. It's heaven. And he said, "You can come up with me to heaven." And the worm said, "Wait a moment, hang on. Up in this heaven place you talk about, is there any cow dung?" "Oh no, there's nothing stinky and filthy like that." So the worm said, "Well, I'm not going. No cow dung, no go." "But you don't understand how beautiful it is up there." "What are you talking about?" said the worm. "The cow dung is so fragrant. It's so delicious. It's my food. I eat it for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. And I sleep in it. It's warm and cozy. So I'm not going." And so the heavenly being decided, if I take this worm by force and show the worm what heaven is like, once you've got personal experience, you can see it for yourself. You'll obviously understand it's much better than a pile of cow shit. So, I said it again, didn't I? Sorry. So, the worm, with its beautiful, manicured, refined fingers, put it right into the pile of poo and grabbed the worm and pulled it out. But remember, if you can try it for yourself in cow poo, it's all slimy. So the worm was actually covered with this slime. So it got it just a little bit out, and the worm wriggled and wriggled as worms do, because it's covered with slime. It's so slippy, it escaped and went right into the deepest part of the poo. So the heavenly being had to put his hand in again and search here, search there, find it, put it out. It wriggled and escaped so many times. It wriggled and escaped. For the last, what do you say, 9 months? For the last 9 months, I've been trying to pull you out of the poo. Do you want to go? No, because my dung, my poo, is fragrant and it's delicious. So I was trying to pull this woman out of her grief. She didn't want to go. She was attached to her grief. For her, the grief was delightful, beautiful, fragrant. It's where she found some comfort. That is what's called entanglement. When we don't know anything else, we won't leave our dung piles. You get a person who's really depressed. To get them out of that is tough, because a lot of times they don't want to go. Anger. You're really upset at somebody. To get you to let it go, for goodness sake. No! Because you like the rage. The rage. It gives me life. It gives me purpose. It's who I am. Don't matter, it stinks. But that's why we get entangled with things. So that's why, as a puller out of worms, which is one of my jobs. You know, you try and trick people into just leaving their grief for a little while, leaving their anger for a little while, just feeling what it must be like to have no worries at all in the world, no ill feeling against anybody. Somebody, doesn't matter what a person's done in their life, they've hurt you, that's their karma. So I've often said to you, you don't need to seek revenge if someone's mistreated you or hurt you. In Buddhism we say you don't need to seek revenge because karma will get the bastards anyway. So you don't let karma do it, you can let go and be free. Doesn't that feel much better? To give one person some freedom and some peace. Why are you always entangled in the past? The past is another pile. Oh, that's the past, not cow poo. The past is dog poo. Why do you get entangled in it? Why can't you realize this is stinky stuff? Doesn't help anybody. It's even toxic. It makes you sick. Why can't you disentangle and let it go? Once you realize it's possible, then everything else is so easy. Once you want to let it go, instead of being entangled in it, it's so easy. So, oh crikey, going way over time again. How to not get entangled? All this stuff which you're doing, see if you can somehow trick yourself just to get out of the jungle for a few moments. Just find some sort of metaphorical pyramid. So you're not in the jungle anymore, you're above it looking down. So you're not in the grief. You can actually detach a little bit, just for a small while, to look at what the heck have I been doing? To get some perspective. And the only way to get perspective is find some place, some method to separate yourself from those memories, separate yourself from those animals on the shelf. Look at it and see the big picture and see what the stupid stuff you're doing. Because when you disentangle a little bit, when you go back out a bit, you take away the emotional entanglement. And the simile which I use mostly in meditation for this, simile of TVs and movies. Why is it that at a movie people start crying? Oh, he's died. I was always unemotional, except for laughter. Unemotional, used to take your girlfriend to the pictures. And she'd start crying, crying when the hero got killed. Oh, he got killed. And I said, don't you believe in reincarnation? He said, what are you talking about? Just wait until the next showing of the movie and he'll get reincarnated again. She didn't think that was funny. That's why the reason all my girlfriends dropped me and I had to become a monk. They said I didn't understand women. I said, no, you don't understand truth. But it's the same. Always saying when the guys watch cricket, there's a cricket match on right now apparently, and people get so excited. Oh, they get so sad. Oh, it's unfair. That was leg before wicket. No, it wasn't. It was missing the stumps. If you know cricket, you know what I'm talking about. Other people think this is crazy talk. People get so entangled in this stuff. And I still remember years ago, I was a school teacher, and there was a big World Cup soccer qualifier. World Cup soccer qualifier. I still remember it to this day, England versus Poland. And they only needed to draw. And it was 1-1. And there's only a few minutes to go. And the Polish striker, he beat one of the English, and he scored a goal. And England had to get dumped out of the cup. And the next day at school, kids as a high school, teenagers, they're usually very difficult to control. This day, so easy to control. They're always, I'm depressed, sir. Oh, England lost. The whole school was depressed. The whole school needed counselling. There's only a soccer match, for goodness sake. What's the big deal? Because they got really entangled in it emotionally. Why do people do that? Why can you watch a movie and just, oh, that was boring. You know what's going to happen. Girl meets boy, somehow or other. Always problems. Always problem difficulties. You have to go for, they've got to have a movie somewhere. And eventually they meet together. And they go off into the sunset and live happily ever after. They never say what happens when they have kids, when the mother-in-law comes to visit. They don't really have mothers. Do they have mothers-in-law in movies these days? At least they don't visit anyway. Or they have to go to work and they get sacked from the job. Whatever it is. But it's just stupid movies. You know what's going to happen. I remember, crikey, okay, Armageddon. I've never seen that movie except silent, because I was on a flight somewhere and the screen dropped down right in front of me, couldn't miss it, but I didn't take the headphones. So I was just watching it. It was really funny. It was one of the most enjoyable flights. I was laughing all over the place. And other people go, you know what's going to happen? Apparently, you can work out the story without any sound or any. It was apparently that there was a meteor heading straight towards Earth. This was the end of the world as we know it. It was going to bash into the Earth, and the whole civilization would be totally destroyed, including the Buddhist Society of West Australia. We were online as well. So, and I knew as soon as I saw it, I knew what would happen. At the very last moment, the really last second, they would escape. Which they did. It was only just the very last second. But it takes all that while. I had a few fights. Was only girls involved? I think there was only girls involved in that one. I don't know. Anyway, that was a weird thing. But anyway, always guys with too much testosterone fighting. The world's at stake, but you still have to have a fight. Crazy. But anyway, they survived in the very end. And I remember the point which really made me cracked up. There's one of their spacecraft hit the asteroid or meteor. And it hit it so hard, there was flames and explosions everywhere and sparks and crashes and so much noise and pyrotechnics. And then when it stopped, it fell down a huge cliff and all over again. Just like if that was any normal person, you'd be smashed to smithereens. Your every bone would be broken and crushed. But after about 5 minutes of special effects, the spacecraft finally came to a halt, and it was quiet. And after about 10 or 20 seconds, where the camera was posed, a little hand came up, and the hero pulled himself up. He survived, not just survived, even his hair was perfect. Not a soot mark, not any blood, not a bruise, not even a scratch on him. That was totally impossible. So I was laughing, and the guy sitting next to me looked at me and said, well, I was crazy, because he was so relieved. Oh, he survived, that was wonderful. Come on, why are you getting so entangled in this stuff? So your husband and wife having an argument. Why are you getting so entangled with it? You just say, go away, it's no big deal. Arguments come, arguments go, that's just life. But when we get emotionally entangled, this is important. It's not important. Just have a difference, that's all. Don't be so attached to being right. And you all know the story, I'm not going to tell this one, the old chicken and the duck. You can read it in the book, you can see it in probably last week's talk. Honestly, guys, if it goes quack quack, and she says it's a chicken, okay? That's my advice to you, and you have a very happy life. Because who gives a damn whether it's a chicken or a duck? And girls, if it goes quack quack and he says it's a cow, it's a cow. Why worry about these things? So stop arguing over silly things, because what's really important in life? It's not being right. That's not important. It's being kind. That's important. It's not just fighting towards the end of the world. It's actually enjoying each other's company. It doesn't matter who's right, who's wrong. And if you're wrong, say you're wrong. And that makes you, certainly in Buddhism, it makes you a more authentic, wise being. You don't always have to be right. And it's great when doctors, they come and tell you, well, I don't really know, but chances are, it's a cancer, but I don't really know. How many of your doctors actually say that? How many professors? How many people in positions of authority actually say, well, it's probably going to be like this, but we're not really sure. If they do, then that is real life. I'm sure that's what you said. You don't know. Sometimes I say things, and I never said that. Something happens when I decide to say it, when it gets to my mouth, when it comes out of my mouth, goes through the air, goes into your ear, goes through your brain, through your filter system. What you hear, what I think I said, is totally different. Welcome to life. So don't argue about it. So that means, what you said, it doesn't matter. It's how kind you are, is what happens. That's the purpose of Buddhism. Being kind, not arguing. Not being right, but being friendly. Having peace rather than things. Having emptiness rather than thoughts. Getting out of this world, which is so entangled and complicated. And when you're up in that pyramid, which is a metaphor for meditation, going on retreat, walking in the bush, anyway you can get away from stuff so you can actually see properly. So there's nothing between you and infinity. That is what Buddhism is all about. Thank you for listening. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, here we go. So any questions from the floor here tonight? No, from the chairs? Yeah, great.
Now, my question isn't necessarily towards... Mine's not about possessions of entanglement, but it's more questions of entanglement. And
entanglement, yeah.
Yeah, one of the questions which I think of every now and then is this one. So I'd like to hear your view on it. I mean, there's no...
Yeah.
So I have the question, were we created by the gods, or were we created by chance?
Created by gods or created by chance. Not created. The idea of created, saying that you are made by something. You emerged, you evolved. But where do we evolve from? This is the old explanation. Many centuries ago, we thought this was a flat earth. And that was so obvious to everybody. People were afraid if you sail far enough, you'll fall off the edge of the planet. Now we know there is no beginning or end of this planet Earth. It's a sphere with no beginnings and ends. And then as a student, I always used to think, what about space? Does space have an end to it? You go far enough in a spacecraft and you come to a wall or a barbed wire fence where you can go no further. And of course, you ask any scientist and he'll say there is no end of this universe. It is. This was Einstein's great discovery. It proved that space is curved like planet Earth. It's not flat. So if you go in a spacecraft in that direction, you will come back right to here, eventually. Space is curved. No beginnings, no ends. And the next thing, that's fact, accepted. The next stage is time. Many people still believe in flat time. If you go back far enough in time, you come to the edge, the beginning, and you fall off that edge if you go too far. You go too far in the future in flat time, and you come to the end of time. That never made any sense to me. But curved time, like planet Earth or like space. No beginnings, no ends. As Professor Stephen Hawking said, a universe with no boundaries. No beginning, no end. Round and round and round. In time. That is cool. So you're not created.
Good answer.
Very good. Okay, let's see what we've got from the internet. I like that. Curved time. Too many people are flat timers. From Sydney. How should we handle office politics? With what sort of mind, especially one who doesn't know how to deal with politics and only wants to do best at work? You make preferences, with the One Nation and other stuff so you can get a seat at the table. And they don't do preferences, and that's terrible. Office politics. With a mind, the best one is a mind of kindness. You don't realize just how powerful a bit of kindness is. People in your office, yeah, it takes a bit of your time out of you. There was somebody here about a couple of weeks ago. I gave this advice: be kind to the person in your office, because they had a new boss who was really difficult. And all they did one day was ask their boss, "Do you want a cup of coffee? I'm just going out to the coffee machine." And she brought her boss a cup of coffee, and that just changed everything. The relationship with her boss. And the boss was really kind now, because everybody does need some kindness. People in your office are doing so much hard work. Just getting them a cup of coffee, spending a little bit of time helping them out, that really counts for a lot. People like to be respected, they like to be treated nicely. And if you're that person who gives them kindness, that really counts in an office. People look after you. I mention this also because I used to go into I forget what it's called now, it used to be called Canning Vale Jail. There were a lot of guerrillas in there, and they had a series of rapes for visitors, not just females. It's a guys' prison, guys raping guys. And they gave us a security device in case we got attacked by any of the prisoners. They had nothing to lose. So, one of these prisoners, huge guy, he looked at me and he said, "You got one of those security, they're supposed to be secret, but he knew exactly what they were." He said, "Ajahn Brahm, do you think you'd even be able to reach that security device before I jumped and raped you?" That's what we say, and it was serious. And, this was a dangerous position to be in the middle of this really high security jail, maybe 20 years ago. I said, "No, you're probably too fast." He said, "Yeah, I'm really fast. I could get you before you even thought of that." But then he smiled at me and said, "But you don't have to worry. In this prison, you've been so kind to us, treated us so well, that I wouldn't let that happen to you. And there's a lot of other guys in here. If anyone tried that, we'd get to them first. You're safe." And I realized just all that kindness which I'd given in that jail for so many years, that protected me much better than any other security device. The power of kindness is huge. Never underestimate it. In office politics, sincere kindness. You look out for your friends in the office, they'll look after you. But that gives a wholly different dimension to the politics in office, which is always about ego, me trying to get the best. And if you miss out on the promotion because the other person gets it, you are so lucky. Haven't you got enough stress already? Let the idiots get the promotion and stress themselves out. From Scotland, what's the best way to deal with someone who really hurts you and let it go to the point where you can forgive and speak with them again? I have depression now because I can't let it go. Someone hurt you. Similarly, say this every few weeks. Someone calls you stupid. Let's make it worse. An idiot. They call you an idiot. What do many people do? They keep remembering it. He called me an idiot. He's got no right to call me an idiot. He shouldn't call me an idiot. If you're smart, you realize they've just called you an idiot 3 more times. Every time you remember it, they're calling you an idiot again. That is why it hurts. So, someone who really hurts you, they only hurt you once in real life, but every time you remember it from Scotland, every time you think about it, you are allowing them to hurt you again. Don't let them do that. Only let them hurt you once. When they actually did that act. Forget it. Let it go. And again, number one, you are not demeaned. It's not your fault. Don't feel that what they did to you takes anything away from who you are. And so number two, revenge, he said, karma gets the bastard anyway. So just let them do that. And so you forgive them. Forgiving means you don't keep thinking about it. Don't mean you suddenly feel that's a wonderful thing they did. That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness is you protecting yourself, letting it go so you don't keep thinking about it. And speak to them again. Fine, speak to them again if you wish to. They made a big mistake. And there's nothing which will help them more realize what they've done is when you give them kindness back. So, don't get into depression because they hurt you once. Don't allow them to hurt you again. And also just learn from the experience so you don't put yourself in a position again. Like some people trust each other too much without getting a bit of exit strategies. So you'll actually learn sometimes when you're hurt, not to do that again. From California, how do I convince my husband to get rid of all his stuffs in the garage that he does not need? His point is the garage is a storage place. A garage is a place for cars. But apparently that one of our anagarikas in the cupboard at our Hermit's Hill has got his tyres, wheels from his car, spare wheels, in the cupboard. So I have to tell him off about that. They go in the garage or on a car, not in the cupboard inside the house. But anyway, encourage your husband to get rid of all his stuff in the garage that he does not need. The rule, and Venerable here knows this rule, every 2 years, as a monk in Bodhinyana Monastery, we have to move. We have to move huts. So you're only allowed to stay in a hut for 2 years. And when you move, you cannot use the tractor, you cannot use a car. You can use a wheelbarrow, but you have to push it yourself. And so number one, it's amazing after 2 years how much stuff you keep, but you have to move. And if you move, that's when you really understand just how much you've got too much stuff in the garage. So from California, move house. And tell your husband, you can store as much as you like in the garage, but you have to push it, from that garage to the next garage we get yourself. And I'm not going to help you, no removal agencies, you just got to do it yourself. And then he realized how much he has and how little he needs. So that's a nice way of doing it, move. So anyway, that's enough. I've gone on way too long again, but I hope you don't mind. Apparently we've still got penalty rates, but they're going to be taken off soon. As soon as the government stops all penalty rates, then I go back to finishing at 8:45.